this meeting is being live streamed. Got it. iPad. Oh, here we go. Here comes iPad Helen. iPad Helen Smerling. I love it. Let's go. Why don't we start off with a little blessing here, and then we'll jump into some fabulousness. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. May we soak ourselves in Torah. May we just get busy with Torah. I love it. Here we go. All right. We are on, we are right in the thick, people. We are right in the middle, a little bit more than of the story of how we became a people. Like we are, it's so funny. We're reading the Passover story right now, and kids are always asking me, why are we reading the Passover story now? Passover is not till later. And then I have to explain to them, well, yes, I know that. But we have in the Torah, it explains when, during what month, and when in that month you're supposed to have the Passover Seder to remember. I mean, it actually is even told in this Parsha, even though the Parsha is happening now. But we got a lot of interesting things going on here. A lot of interesting things going on here. And I'm going to share my screen. I'll make this a little bigger so I can get to the sharing. And we're going to share this one. Boop. All right. Let's see what we got. How is the size? Here we go. How is the size for everybody? Can you see this? Do I need to make it bigger? Too big? How is that? Better? Yeah, thumbs up. I like thumbs up. Always a big fan of the thumbs up. All right, I'm gonna move this guy over so it looks like I'm looking at you a little bit. Lorraine! Good to see you, Lorraine. I haven't seen you for a while. This is fabulous. All right, here we go. We're right there where God's saying to Moses, like, go over to Pharaoh, get ready for this. You're going to go tell Pharaoh, let my people go, because I've heard all of their cries. I've heard it. And now we're going to go over and we're going to show them who's boss, right? Then Adonai said to Moses, go to Pharaoh, for I have hardened Pharaoh's heart. I have hardened his heart and the heart of his courtiers, in order that I may display these my signs among them, and that you may recount in the hearing of your child and of your child's child how I made a mockery of the Egyptians, and how I displayed my signs among them, in order that you may know that I am Adonai. Now, this is the Egyptians had no chance. They had no chance, right? It was as if God was really just toying with everyone involved to prove a point and to set the story to be told for generations, right, at this point. But there's a couple of interesting things as we go through that I wouldn't say contradiction, but rather curious omission, and that's going to be more towards the end, but everything's going to kind of build up to it. So what do we find interesting here? What do I mean by the Egyptians have no shot? They have no chance here. Nothing. They have no chance. What do I mean here? What in this text says that they have no chance? Go ahead, Donna. What in the text says that they have no shot?
I really believe is that God is just all consuming, all powerful. He planned everything, and pretty much they're just SOL.
Okay, but what? Thank you. But what in the text itself?
In the text
clearly states.
What verse are we talking about?
The first one on your screen. The first one on your screen. It's Exodus 10, 1 through 2.
It says, then said to Moses, go to Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart. The heart of his courage.
Oh, yeah. His heart. He's not even going to be in his right mind. He's not even going to have a choice. He's busted. Heart is hardened. He's like, it ain't gonna happen. Sorry, they're gonna ask all these things of you. Not gonna let it happen. Why? Why? Right? So that I may display these my signs among them. Check it out. So they can see I'm not just a God of words. I am a God of action. And they messed up here. All right, let's keep going. So this is fascinating. All right. Now, Pnina, I know this next part is gonna drive you a little bananas. Okay, Safta, you just gotta chill a little bit. Get ready for it. Are you ready? I know that it's gonna drive you a little bananas, but just chaki, okay? All right. This is fascinating. So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said to him, "Thus says Adonai, the God of the Hebrews." And this is going to be a line that's repeated a whole bunch. Classic.
There it goes. I got it.
How long will you refuse to humble yourself before me? Let my people go. Right? The classic line. Everybody knows it. Let my people go. Right? Everybody knows that line. But they don't know that it's not let my people go, period. It's let my people go, ... Now, this is very curious. What do we always say about translations? All translations are interpretations, right? Let my people go that they may worship me. Let my people go that they may worship me. All translation is interpretation, right? Let's look at the Hebrew. Let's go to the Hebrew. Shalach ami ve'ya'avduni. Shalach ami ve'ya'avduni. Let my people go. Shalach ami ve'ya'avduni. Here it is translated as so they may worship me. It's this word right here. Worship. Worship. Ya'avduni. You ready for this? Get ready for this. Safta, why don't you go ahead and tell us what's going on right here? Don't forget to unmute yourself.
I am. Okay. First of all, we already went over it many times that the Pharaoh himself was considered to be a god, or considered himself a god, and to his people.
Yes.
Here we have like a battle of the forces.
Battle of the forces.
And but what the message is here, that he's, in order to prove the point, he's using. Okay, can you go back to the other part?
No, I cannot. Because we're not talking about that.
That's okay.
We are talking about this
all right,
word
we talked
right
about
here.
we talked about the fact that he made everybody slaves. So now he says, if there is any work to do, it's going to be my message. That
okay, so check this out, right?
Abduni.
Yes.
Now they'll be doing my commandments,
okay.
My authority.
Time out. Yes. That's what's kind of cuckoo here, right? Ya'avduni. The word for slave. Do we remember what the word for slave is? What is the word for slave?
Right.
Avadim. Eved.
But it comes also from the word avodah.
Yes, chaki. Don't make me. I got the button. All right, here it is, right? Ya'avduni. Eved. Avodah. Work. Eved. Slave means Eved, or Eved in English is slave. The word for worshiper, get ready, the word for worshiper is Eved. It's the same word.
Oved Adonai, that's right.
So one could translate this, get ready. We go from being Eved Pharaoh to Eved Adonai. Let my people go so they may be enslaved to me. So they may be enslaved to me. This is a way of translating this word. So we go
He's
from
using
being-
the language that the people will understand.
Tov, rega, chaki, I'm gonna push the button. I'm pushing the button. I won't push the button. Let my people go so they may worship me. I actually enjoy this translation, right? Even though we say, well, it is kind of like an enslavement commandments. If we're going to go a mitzvot, commandment means that there is a commander and a commandee. We're being commanded to do something. We are being commanded to live our lives in a certain way, right? But let's talk about what the difference is between being a slave to Pharaoh versus a worshiper of God. Let's talk about what is the difference between being a slave of Pharaoh and a worshiper of God. All right. When we say worship, what does worship mean in this context? When we're talking about worship as in we believe in, we look to, we pray to, we follow, we listen, we do, right? This is for God. For Pharaoh, we are, as enslaved, we're working for, we do Pharaoh's bidding. Here's the main difference to me. This is my interpretation. Being an Eved to Pharaoh, who does that benefit? Who does that benefit? Being a slave to Pharaoh, who does that benefit? Go ahead, Doug, unmute yourself. I saw lips moving.
They're enslaved to Pharaoh.
So who does it benefit?
Doesn't benefit the Hebrews, it benefits Pharaoh.
It
and
benefits
the culture.
Pharaoh. It
Yeah.
benefits Pharaoh, right? It benefits Pharaoh and the Egyptian. That's it. To Pharaoh, we were no more than an extension of any kind of tool. We were not human beings. We were an extension of any kind of tool. Oh, look, my hammer broke. Throw it away. I'll get a new one. Oh, look, my pickaxe broke. Throw it away. I get a new one. Oh, look, my Israelite broke. Throw them away. I'll get a new one. No different. No different. But who does it benefit to worship God? Who does it benefit to worship God?
Everybody.
Tell me more about that. How
It's
so?
Just because you reap what you sow. I mean, it's like God's not going to deny himself. And when you love him and you serve him, there's blessings, and you don't, there's cursings. And that's why Pharaoh was cursed. And
Well, okay, hold on. So what, so the worshiping of God, here's what I think here. Does God really need us to worship God? I don't know. I don't think so.
He wants us
God
to.
needs
We're his
us.
children. He wants fellowship.
God doesn't need us.
God
But
wants
if we are chosen, right, chosenness is not always a good thing, right? You know, all these years of persecution, not always a good thing. Being chosen, right? Worshiping God benefits the people, right? If Torah is supposed to be a guidebook for life, it is teaching us on how to live a specific kind of life, not about solely our relationship to God, but our relationship to each other. How do we live together? How do we create a thriving culture and society and religion and people being together, moving through the wilderness to a promised land and then setting up an entire civilization, right? By this guidebook. So it benefits us. It actually looks at us as divine human beings, right? Each of us being created in the image of God, giving us purpose and meaning. Yet we are, though we are each unique, we are something special as part of a collective. right? And I don't believe this saying where it says, well, if everybody is special, nobody is special. I don't believe that, right? But each of us are special and unique with that spark of divinity within us, yet still part of something greater. That makes it even better, I think. So I think that is the difference. But there's still a lot of cuckoo business going on, because get ready, right? It's the classic line, let my people go so they may worship me or be enslaved to me. Here we go. This is Pharaoh speaking, okay? This is Pharaoh speaking after the first plague. Locusts are coming. Forgive my offense just this once and plead with your God that this death but be removed from me. This is Pharaoh saying, okay, enough. So Pharaoh was ready to let him go. Pharaoh was ready to let him go. But look what happened right after. Oh, but God stiffened Pharaoh's heart and he would not let the Israelites go. So Pharaoh was like, all right, I'm going to let you go. Nope. Again, no. And then after the next plague, whoop, and then no. But Adonai stiffened Pharaoh's heart and he would not agree to let them go, right? Exodus 27. So after each plague, Pharaoh's like, okay, go already. Fine. Fine. And just as Pharaoh's about to let him go, God says, no, your heart is hardened again. You're not letting anybody go because I'm going to show you so that no dog shall snarl at any of the Israelites, at human or beast, in order that you may know that Adonai makes a distinction between Egypt and Israel. So now everybody sees, all right, these are my people, right? There's something special. I had to show you just as much as I had to show them, meaning the Israelites, right? Because like Safta was saying, everybody kind of looked to Pharaoh also as like a living God. And, right, we're moving from this concept of, when we first crossed the sea, I'm jumping ahead, right? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, who is like you among all the gods. This is the Israelites saying this about God, about Elohim, about Adonai, right? Because they're also thinking about where they just came from. So God had to be like, all right, check this out. This is what I'm doing. These other gods, they're not even a thing. Just me, right? But now this is fantastic. Now Adonai had said to Moses, Pharaoh will not heed you in order that my marvels may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. Pharaoh will not heed you in order that my marvels will be multiplied in the land of Egypt. Okay. Now this is fascinating. We're about to move into something else this is one of my favorite parts that we all know, but it's really one of my favorite parts. We all know it, but we may not have actually looked at it for how significant I truly believe it to be. Get ready. This is the last one. This is the last plague, right? The death of the firstborn. And this is God saying, they, meaning the Israelites, shall take some of the blood of a sacrificial lamb, right? The Pesach lamb. They shall take some of the blood. This is God saying to Moses, tell the people, and put it on the two doorposts and the lintel of the houses in which they are to eat, meaning the sacrificial meal. For that night, I will go through the land of Egypt and strike down every male firstborn in the land of Egypt, both human and beast, and I will mete out punishments to all the gods of Egypt, lowercase g in their interpretation and their translation. And the blood on the houses where you are staying shall be a sign for you. When I see the blood, I will pass over you, so that no plague will destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. This, my friends, is what I believe to be the moment of covenant and relationship, right? Relationship where it takes two to tango. This is the moment. We all know this moment, right? We've all heard this before, right? In some form or another. Some of us, maybe some of us know, well, here it is. This is in the Passover story, but this is the moment, right? What do I mean by that? It happens again, the moment I mean, later on in our greater story. What was the miracle of Hanukkah? Not the oil. Let's talk about the other miracle that we've talked about before. What was the miracle? What was the miracle? Not the oil. What was the miracle? Do we remember?
The victory of the battle by an overwhelming force.
Okay, the victory, the battle, the overwhelming force where the Maccabees and their people, there was nobody gave them a chance, right? Yet they defeated the Assyrian Greeks. Great. What was the miracle, or what was the miracle of the Purim story? What's the miracle of the Purim story, right? We talked about this before, where we sing about miracles only during two holidays. We sing about it during Hanukkah and we sing about it during Purim. We don't sing about it during any other holiday. We don't sing about it during creation of the world, of the universe, of everything. We don't sing about it in this story. We only sing about it in Hanukkah and Purim. What was the miracle of Purim? Penina, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Okay, that Ahasuerus changed his mind, and
how did that happen?
Esther and Mordechai
Esther and
teamed up
Mordechai.
to convince the king that Haman is a bad man.
Yes.
So the miracle was that usually if you came in front of him without being called, he would kill you.
Yep.
And she took the chance and she showed up in front of Ahasuerus, and he didn't kill her. He actually listened to her and did whatever they suggested him to do.
Yes, 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 yes. And the roots of both of those miracles are found right here in the Exodus story. What is the difference between the first 9 plagues and the 10th plague? What is the difference between the first 9 plagues and the 10th plague? What's the difference? Doug, you're shaking your head. What you got?
Yeah.
You're muted. No, you're not.
The Hebrews had to make some kind of an action. They had to do something.
There's a beautiful I don't know how beautiful it is, but there's a midrash that says, yeah, not all the Israelites made it out of Egypt. Many of the firstborn of the Israelites were killed. Why? Because they didn't actually do anything, right? The first 9 plagues, they are passive observers. They're like, check out what's going on with those guys. Not happening to us. Check out what's happening to those guys. This one, if you continued to be a passive observer, you weren't going to make it, right? This is the moment where our people took an active role in their own redemption. Where our people took an active role in their redemption, right? So only the people who did this with their own 2 hands were actually going to. So that's why I say covenant, relationship. This is partnership here, right? This is for me the pivotal moment, right? And it informs everything else that happens next throughout history, and even my own theology and philosophy, I guess. It's fascinating. I have yet to find who actually said this quote, who it's attributed to, but we have it it's in the religious school Siddur. And I don't know who said it, but it's absolutely beautiful. And it doesn't really matter who said it, I guess. But it says, pray as if everything depended on God and act as if everything depends on you.
Yes.
Right? Can't just be one or the other. Can't just be one or the other. Right? Go ahead, Pnina. What you got for us, Safta?
Okay, I want to add only to
Bring it.
which is amazing.
Yeah.
Why is it that he said to slaughter a lamb? Because there wasn't only the Egyptians that thought that Pharaoh is a god living there. There were people that believed that the sheep or cows were gods. Remember
Oh,
how they put
I
the
didn't
cow in
know
the
that.
desert?
That's
And
interesting.
now he's telling them, it's not, even if there is people among you that think that Pharaoh is not a god, but you are worshiping other gods like the sheep. And by the way, Nechama Leibovitz said that something very interesting, that he gave the Jews to live in Goshen because he didn't want him as a god to be mixed with their gods. Even if when they bury their dead, that the earth doesn't contain gods. And he considered the sheep and the cows, some people among his
meaning Pharaoh?
that he conquered, from other nations.
Oh, all right.
They believed in other gods. So this particular thing that happens now, not only that he's slaughtering the lamb, that in some of the cultures it was one of the gods, he's also showing the other people, not just the Hebrews, who is in charge. And if they already had mezuzot, and they already had the acknowledgement that they were Hebrews, so he uses them, the ones, to help him prove to the others that whatever they believe is not, they should follow the Hebrews. That's why 600,000 left with Moses. That weren't Jewish. Weren't Jewish, weren't Hebrews.
So this is 600,000 men plus, right?
Plus the people of Israel that left. The 70 people came down to
plus
Egypt.
Women and children are not included in that number.
Right, and 600,000 foreigners, people that were not from the Hebrews, joined Moses.
Yeah, and
they had to be proven also that their gods also are the real.
Yeah, and I left one of those parts out because later on it says, when you're sharing your meal, you share your meal with the Israelite people and the strangers among you, you treat them as one.
Absolutely.
But
that's it.
There isn't, it's not a that's it.
Okay.
But you can treat them but they got to get circumcised to do it.
Yeah, well.
But if they don't circumcise, you guys are going to be over there. And they're like, right? There's a very...
That's a commitment, to show commitment.
There's a very funny thing when we talk about language and understanding of language. I remember, I'll give you the not as funny part first. It's not that it's not funny, but it's not meant to be funny. So I was working with some kids about with their Devar Torah, and their Devar Torah was on the binding of Isaac, and an offering is called an ole, right? To offer is like something an ole, something you're lifting up to God. And they were like, so this is so when God said that to Abraham, right, that your son, an olah, that it's going to be like, oh, we have to offer up my kid. They offered, well, you need to really get influence
of the people who lived in
hold on, this. Wait. Oh, I knocked my headphones out. You got me all crazy. I knocked my headphones out. You got me all crazy. Did you work on the Devar Torah with them? No, I didn't. So
okay. So that's it. I'm turning off. Goodbye.
They said that it's always good to get clear when you're reading somebody's words or you're listening. You always want to get clarity on meaning. What did you actually mean? Like, what was the intonation of your words? Because they said, Ole, it could have been just go up with your son. And God, no, not kill your son as an offering. Just go up. Oleg also means go up. Olam means go up. Just go up there with your son. And then this was something funny. There's a show in Israel called Yehudim Baim. The Jews are coming. It's like a sketch comedy, and they have Abraham is there with Isaac and Ishmael, and he's like, Abraham says to them, "Yeah, dude, we're gonna have to circumcise you. We're gonna, and they're like, what? What's that? What'd you say? Wait. I'm confused. I thought you said that you're gonna circumcise me." Yes, that's what I said, Abraham said. And then the kids are pretending like they're talking to God. Oh, wait a second. Did you mean, it's not going to be funny at all because I'm going to tell you in the translation. Did you mean olive? Did you mean olive? Oh, in Hebrew, olive is zait. And in Hebrew, the other thing that you're supposed to cut is zayin. So they're like, did you mean zait? Dad, he meant zait. He meant let's make a salad. Cut the olives. He didn't mean cut the other thing. All right, I guess, we'll workshop that explanation. I'm sorry, it's not so funny. All right, anyway, moving on. Doug is not having it. Doug is not having it. Who's talking?
This is Brad. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, Brad.
Okay. Rabbi, I want to go back to the covenant relationship, a covenant which is a system of obligations.
Oh, Brad, you're cutting out, man.
So then going back to your original question, who benefits? When you asked that before, and you said, well, we do, it's us. But couldn't you then also argue, because of the nature of the covenantal relationship, that both we and God benefit from this relationship?
Yes, I love it. Sure. But we need it more than God does. But Brad, I love it. Love it. Fantastic.
I gotta say Shabbat Shalom. I'll see everybody tonight. Thanks.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Jonah.
Bye-bye.
All right, now let's move on. Thank you. This is I love. Yes, Brad. Thank you. So good. You are absolutely correct, because it by the nature of the word, it means that there's relationship and that one hopes that there's going to be benefit on both sides. Fabulous. Though I'm not really sure what kind of benefit it really has for God, depending on one's understanding of God. If God is omnipotent and, Ein Sof, no end, no beginning, not sure, but you make a phenomenal point and I love it.
דיברה Torah בלשון בני אדם. The Torah spoke in the language of people. They needed to hear whatever it is that they can understand.
No.
That's the saying, that דיברה Torah בלשון בני אדם.
Vanti. So what is that? How is that?
They are giving them, he's giving examples to the people in a language that they should understand.
Yeah, but how does that benefit God?
That's what he tells them.
But how does that benefit God?
That's what Moses is going to tell the people.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, check this out.
They're going to please him. They're going to please him this way. They're going to walk him. They're going to please him. That's what he wants. That's it.
Here's the next part that I also find, fascinating. And it's also part of the Passover story. And it also is a foundation for the pedagogical Jewish lens, right? This next one statement, one line, where everything else comes from, the way that we teach our children, the way that we teach, period. And when your children ask you, what do you mean by this right? Meaning all this stuff. Tell me, somebody please unpack for me that statement. Why is that statement so massive? And when your children ask you, what do you mean by this right? What is so amazingly, massively delicious about this line? Who can tell me or share with us? Who's got an idea? Am I frozen?
Rabbi,
Yes, go. Here we go, Lorraine. Go ahead.
I think at face value, what I would say about that is that you have to teach it. You have to teach it to your children.
Okay, but what does that mean to you, to your children? I could just say, you got to do this. This is what you do. This is what you do. Do this. Do that. This is why it's important. This is the story. Blah, blah, blah. What's the difference, Lorraine?
Well, I'm gonna pass that to somebody else.
Okay, all right. Bendy, was that your hand?
That was my hand, Rabbi.
Go, man.
Isn't that a tenet of Judaism where we seek out, we learn, we ask questions, and we find our own spirituality in the Jewish faith? And
yes,
we're asking our children, and as a parent, when I ask them a question, what does it mean to you? They can then process it and think about it and come up with an answer that has meaning to them. So it's more than just, as you said, Rabbi, telling them you must brush your teeth, but why?
Right. And they'll come back. Well, why do I need to brush my teeth? Right? Why do I need to brush my teeth? Rebecca, what do you want to say?
Well, my question is there a significance to the number of plagues, 9 plagues, and then the 10th plague? And why then did God feel like it was so necessary to go through that number? Because actually then we're asking children that if you don't do it right the first time, you're going to get punished again until you finally do get it right. I don't understand.
I don't know about this. I do, number 10 is significant in the tradition in many different ways. I don't know in this case why it was.
Each plague seems significantly more intense.
More intense. I think it's about, to show rather than tell. And right, we learn by experience, perhaps, right? The Naaseh v'nishma, we will understand and listen, and it's kind of like a circular thing with that. But that's an interesting question. And the fact that you even asked that question proves the point of my recent question.
Exactly.
Of this, that our system is based on questions. It is based on questions, not just based on rote, dogmatic, I'm telling you this, and you can't ask any questions, but rather it's about questions. That's who we are as a people, right? It's like I'm often asked, Rabbi, why do you always answer a question with a question? And I say, do I do that? Okay, that one was a little better. Okay, I have another interesting thing to share, and then Brad's bumping back in, and then Safta, I got you. So I remember reading about this Nobel laureate Isidore Rabi, and in his acceptance speech, he said, what do you think brought you to this point that you were able to, you've come to this point of receiving this Nobel Prize? And he said, well, when I was a kid, when you'd go home from school, parents may ask you, so what did you do today? And kids are always, oh, nothing. But my mother always asked me, so what good questions did you ask today? And he said, that made all the difference, right? Because that's based in our tradition. It's like, we're going to ask these questions. We can't be afraid to ask questions, or we can't be afraid to hear the questions, right? Oftentimes people are afraid, or they the questions because they're afraid, A, maybe I don't know, I never really thought about it, or B is like, well, then they won't necessarily respect me, or it's kind of intimidating or right? I get asked questions every day. I have no idea. And most of the time it comes from these little kids because they got the purest of curiosity. We can't be afraid of the questions, right? Even if you don't know the answer at the time, it at least gives us an opportunity to learn and study together. I'm going to go Stacy and then Doug. Stacy, go.
My sense with your discussing the thing about asking questions is what we also learn, how the rabbis will kind of have different positions on different topics. And
Mhm.
it also connects to, as I understand it, how Judaism to me is like a religion of tolerance. Because if you can be open enough to ask questions and get other input from other people, then you're not necessarily having this dogmatic view of how things should be.
Yes, and right, different levels of tolerance. There's always a fence around the Torah. It just depends on how big your fence is or how wide your fence is, right? How big your tent is or not. It's a very good point.
Well, that's why we have the 4 questions.
Yeah,
Right.
well, really, we have 1 question and 4 statements.
Exactly. And also, before we close the subject, he didn't just attack the people. He attacked the source of their being sustained. Like if he brought the locust eats the fields.
Yeah, Logos, man.
He brought the plague, the devil, which hit the sheep and the cows also, which considered to be in some religions over their gods. So it's all a matter of how quick they got the message.
Yeah.
How long it took them to get the message. And that's why the process of all the 10 plagues.
Fabulous. All right, here we go. Moving on. This one I just thought was interesting. And this Safta already brought this point up. The Israelites journeyed from Ramses to Sukkot, about 600,000 fighting men on foot, meaning of certain age. So 600,000. So we know that it's going to be at least double that, at least more actually left. If it's 600,000 men of a certain age, moreover, a mixed multitude went up with them. So you have the 600,000 men of a certain age, you have women, you have children, you have multitude, a mixed multitude. So you have other people who are like, I want to attach my lot to these guys. These guys seem to know what's up. I like their God. Let's go hang out with them. Right. And all the livestock in it. So you can just imagine this is like massive movement, massive movement. But this is also very interesting. Right. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough that they had taken out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, since they had been driven out of Egypt and could not delay, nor had they prepared any provisions for themselves. The length of time that the Israelites lived in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of the 430th year to the very day, all the ranks of Adonai departed from the land of Egypt. Okay.
I have to say something about the matzah really quick.
Okay.
In the story of Abraham, when Abraham had the 3 angels coming, he told Sarah, Mahari afi ugot matzot. They knew about the matzahs before, how to make them, because he told her, go make matzah cakes. So Mahari afi ugot matzot. So the matzah wasn't invented then in the desert. They knew how to make them. They knew about them. Like we're doing quick bread, something like pita or something.
Yeah, dude, but pita is so much better than matzah.
Yeah, but they knew about it. That's my point. It wasn't invented there. Like Abraham already knew, and he told Sarah when the angels came, Mahari afi ugot matzot. Hurry up and bake matzah cakes. That's it.
Mazel tov. Thank you, too. All right. Now, what I wanted to say, if it's interesting, what do they later on they build in the golden calf and the tabernacle?
Right.
What are they building that with?
Yeah.
Doug.
Well, that's one of the questions I had. When we got the Torah, there's gold and acacia wood and jewels and just all kinds of stuff. Well, where did they get it? Well, they took it out of Egypt. And
they were given it so they can just leave.
Given. It doesn't say given. Earlier, I should have put it in there. I'm always having to choose. It does say, it says, go get that from the Egyptian people. Go get it.
They gave them.
But they didn't have time.
Them out of there, so they
didn't have time to make a pita. Why does it have to be this crunchy stuff that binds you up your guts? Oh, daka, make it 1 more minute. Make a nice pita. Make a nice lafa. Why you got to do this other stuff? Don't take one less coin, one less of the gold. Why you got to do that? Come on, right? But it's goes to the mentality. What's going on here? And it sets us right. I think it sets it up for what happens next in the story. All of these things kind of set up for who they are as a people, the stiff-necked people, right? Hardened heart, but now a stiff-necked people. People are always complaining. People are always whining. People are always like, what about this? What about that? Give me this. Give me that. I need some food. Give me some money. I want to get money. I want to take a lot of extra. Oh, it's going to go rotten if I take extra. I don't care. I'm taking extra anyway. Whoa, I want to don't eat everything because it's not going to come on Shabbat. I'm going to eat it anyway. And now I'm hungry. Nothing to eat on Shabbat, right? This speaks to the mentality of who these people are. Rebecca.
I just want to share some discussion from the Bible study that I was in yesterday, in that it was suggested that the silver and gold and clothing that the people took from the Egyptians could be considered reparations, and that in the multitude of people that left were probably people who were not Hebrews, that they were probably other oppressed people that were under Pharaoh, and perhaps it was those people who were complaining about not having enough food.
Oh, look at apologists. Apologists. Fascinating. I'm not going to ask where you went for this Torah study, but that's cool. I'm not asking. Apology. Oh, it wasn't the Jews. It wasn't the Israelites. God forbid the Israelites complain. It's definitely the others. God forbid. Good one. I love it. All right, check out this next thing. I want to see if we can kind of pick out something interesting. So here we're talking about questions. And when time to come, right? Generations to come. A child of yours asks you, saying, and here we got the questions, what does this mean? You shall reply, it was with a mighty hand that God brought us out from Egypt, the house of bondage. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, Adonai slew every male firstborn in the land of Egypt, the firstborn of both human and beast. Therefore, I sacrifice to God every first male issue of the womb, but redeem every male firstborn among my children. And so it shall be a sign upon your hand and as a symbol on your forehead. This is where we get the idea of tefillin, right? Of the wrapping of tefillin. And so it shall be a sign upon your hand and as a symbol on your forehead that with a mighty hand God freed us from Egypt. What do we find a little curious about this statement? Let me read it again. And when in time to come, a child of yours asks you, saying, what does this mean? You shall reply, it was with a mighty hand that God brought us out from Egypt, the house of bondage. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, God slew every male firstborn in the land of Egypt, the firstborn of both human and beast. Therefore, I sacrifice to God every first male issued from the womb, but redeem every male firstborn among my children. And so it shall be as a sign upon your hand and as a symbol of your forehead, that with a mighty hand God freed us from Egypt. What do we find curious about this passage? Go ahead, Safta.
He is constantly reminding them that it hit the firstborns, because the firstborn of Egypt, the Pharaoh, was considered the god. And then to some people that lived there, the bull, the first of them, also was considered a god. Like, again, I'm showing an example that they built a bull or a cow, whatever you want to call it, in the desert.
But why is that curious?
Because he's emphasizing that even people that think that Pharaoh was a god, even Pharaoh was hit, or the house of Pharaoh was hit. And if they think that the animal was a god, then the animals was hit too. That to
Okay.
show that he is controlling the scene. That's
All
it.
right, good. Thank you. That's not where I was going, but I like it.
Okay, that's
Ben,
fine.
what you got?
Oh, you're talking about the totafot that you wrap around your hands
No.
and you put on your forehead? That's just to
No.
remind people.
No, I got that.
Remind
That's
them.
not where I'm going, but I
Oh,
like
sorry.
it. But
Okay,
no,
go
what?
ahead.
Sorry. No, sorry. No,
Now
sorry.
I'm curious. What?
I'm curious. Love it.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm not, I don't think I'm right, but I'm just wondering about the parallel. As I recall the story, didn't the Pharaoh order the firstborn male child to be killed?
Yeah.
Bingo. Beautiful.
Fabulous.
Moses.
Bingo. Beautiful.
And so here the Pharaoh had this power to order it. Now God, hey,
Yeah. So
I'm gonna do it too.
So
to
maybe I'm
show
not
you
using the
my
right word.
power.
That you're absolutely right. That's like,
Beautiful.
you reap what you sow. But there's still something very curious about this explanation. Let me read it again. And when in time to come, a child of yours asks you, saying, what does this mean? You shall reply, it was with a mighty hand that Adonai brought us out from Egypt, the house of bondage. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, Adonai slew every male firstborn in the land of Egypt, firstborn of human and beast. And I'm going to actually stop at that point and say the rest of this is not part of the curious thing. It's not. This not curious. This is not curious. Up to here, not curious. Do you see that highlighted? Not curious. Above it, curious. Curious by omission. Is that a good hint? Curious by omission. I'll read it again. I know you're getting frustrated with me. Ha! And when in time to come, a child of yours asks you, saying, what does this mean? You shall reply, it was with a mighty hand that God brought us out from Egypt, the house of bondage. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, Adonai slew every male firstborn in the land of Egypt and the firstborn of both human and beast. Okay. Ben's got an idea, and then Doug.
I'm gonna take
Could
a
it be
stab.
that last phrase, the firstborn in the land of Egypt? That does not exclude the Hebrews.
Fine. There's no out. How do you get the pass? How do you get the immunity?
Well, you know how to get the immunity.
But God doesn't tell you here. He says everybody.
Oh, you're right. I like that. Yeah, that wasn't where I was going, but I like it. Nice, Ben. Doug, what were you saying? Oh, is that Doug, whose was that? Was that both of you thought the same thing? Man, I like it. All right, that'll be for next year. All right, here it is. You ready for me to tell you?
Yes.
Okay. It was with a mighty hand that Adonai brought us out from bondage, out from Egypt, the house of bondage, when Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go. Why did Pharaoh stubbornly refuse? Pharaoh didn't want to stubbornly refuse. Pharaoh tried not to stubbornly refuse because God didn't allow Pharaoh to refuse, because every time God hardened Pharaoh's heart. But it doesn't say that, so your kid's not even going to know that. So your kid's going to be like, oh, thanks, God. That's like, right, okay, great. Does not say anything about how God set him up. Doesn't say anything about that. So then when we talk about, okay, this leads to a whole nother thing. When we talked about the pedagogical philosophy of allowing children and encouraging children to ask questions, here comes another thing that what I have found in my teaching of kids. And this is a really big challenge. We see this even with college kids today. We see it with, I see it with teens and bar and bat mitzvah kids and teens and college kids. The omission of things. Oh, well, you never told me that. You never told me. You never told me that. Why didn't you tell me that? That changes my whole perspective on things. And now I think you're trying to hide something from me. For example, like in the Purim story, we don't tell the kids about the end of the Purim story, where then the Israelites, where the Jewish people then turn on everybody and slaughter hundreds of thousands.
They were given permission to defend themselves.
יופי טוב, תודה, סבתא, כן, הבנתי אותך. But the point is, we still don't share that with anybody. It's like there's a fine line between what kids are prepared for at a certain age to learn about and to understand versus give them all the information and let's see what happens. Give them all the information and let's see what happens, right? That if the question is, that's also philosophy, this other part gets a little challenging. How much information is too much information? How much lack of information makes somebody feel like, well, you're not telling me the whole story. So that means, what else are you not telling me? And it betrays trust, right? And that's something that we, all of us perhaps struggle with all the time. I struggle with this with my teens. I struggle with this with my college kids, like vis-a-vis when we talk about Israel. There's a whole movement of kids saying, oh, you never told me. You never told me. Well, I did tell you. You just, didn't listen, or I didn't teach it to you well enough, right? This is a whole big con. We got, on one hand, ask the questions and encourage it. On the other hand, how much information am I going to give you and at what time and what age? It's this challenging, dissonant dance that I dance daily. And with that, our time together is hardly up. But fear not, we will be together again soon. I want to wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. And I look forward to learning with you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Fabulous, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
You all are
shalom.
awesome.
Shabbat
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay. Okay. Let's close that. We'll go here.